There's a Hartlepool character, definitely. They're tough because of the weather. And they just have this connections with the sea. St Hilda's has been a special place for people in the area for now 800 years.
The Borough Council class it as one of their jewels.
It's got its own energy about it when you come into the space.
It's a home. It feels like home. It's a home.
We're a little town on our own.
So here we are in Hartlepool Headland. Builds up on limestone. Many people say it's the hew, but it's not, it's the heuff. It's a raised platform of ground stretching from the cliffs in the south all the way down to the town moor. Look at it from the air and you can see the resemblance to Lindisfarne, which is cut off by the sea twice a day, which is probably the case with Hartlepool. And that would have attracted Aidan and the early saints to this as a demographic where most of their trade's done with the sea. They can see south, they can see north, they can watch out for marauders.
I mean, it would have looked very different to how it is now. Now it's all built up. Back in the early Middle Ages, this would have been much more exposed. Early medieval monasteries were very, very big, so they're very different from the later medieval monasteries with the stone cloisters. Instead, you can imagine kind of around us and behind us, there would have been the big church, but there would have been other smaller churches. It probably would have looked as much like a substantial farm as anything else. Hild is born as a member of the extended Northumbrian royal family, and like a lot of Northumbrian aristocratic women in the 7th century, she finds a way to build a life through becoming a member of the church. And because she's very well connected, she becomes very important very quickly. She spends initially a very brief time as head of a monastery on the River Wear. Then she spends around a decade here at Hartlepool as the abbess before moving to Whitby.
St Hilda, Bede called her mother, so that they called her mother matriarch, agony aunt in today's terms, a person who was approachable by anybody and everybody, which epitomises today that caring female, and that she was not just caring for the young but the old as well as shining the light of Christianity. She was also the health service, education. She was all things to all people. In that limited time, 7 years before she went off to Whitby, where she chaired the Synod of Whitby, she had a profound influence on both the men and the women. I think that's important to note. But for me, the lovely thing is that there's so many women like her that have come after her that have made contributions to this part of the world, to the Headland. Everybody can mention some woman who is similar, who's done similar things.
The programme that DigVentures has created for the Heart of the Headland project is designed to bring in as many people as possible to engage with St Hilda's Church, because the National Lottery Heritage Fund have funded the restoration works, and they really want to see that those restoration works have enabled the community to use this space for that work to have had a community impact.
This restoration work was badly needed. There was talk that the north clerestory windows were in great need of repair. And Faculty 2 is the meeting room for the community, the wider community, not just the church. And that involves the glazing of the west door and the meeting room itself.
We've programmed all sorts of different activities, everything from sound baths to make use of the incredible acoustics that are here at St Hilda's, and we've also had things that are really strongly related to the history as well, so trying to bring that kind of heritage through, for example with Work Experience Week, where the young people aged between 16 and 18 designed an exhibition as part of that week.
I've learned a lot about Hartlepool that I didn't know before. So I learned that even at the beginning of the 19th century, it was still really small, only about 900 people were living there, and then it became a lot bigger during the Industrial Revolution, which I didn't know.
I think this is an amazing concept that you open it up for non-religious purposes as well, because I think it's kind of reflecting of the diverse society in which we now live. And I think if you could make it a little bit more multifunctional, whilst completely respecting that it is a religious building, I think that's an amazing way to make it accessible to people who wouldn't otherwise come through the doors.
So personally, for me, it brought a bit of stillness to my mind. I'm ADHD and my mind's always busy. It did bring a bit of calm and it helped me let go of things.
A lot of people mentioned that they hadn't been in here, they hadn't been in since they were in school. So that's amazing that they've come back as an adult and they've seen how it could be utilised.
There's a legend to do with St Hild that she changed a plague of snakes in Whitby into ammonites, and it's used to justify why there were ammonites in the rocks of Whitby. I went to St Hilda's, Oxford, for my first degree, so I feel a kind of kinship to her, but a strong woman, one of the few women whose reputation survives from the 7th century. She hosted kind of national conferences, she advised kings. That's a storming woman.
We have been running workshops for children looking at the history of St Hilda's through the lens of the medieval monks and nuns that might have lived here when the Anglo-Saxon monastery was on the headland.
We have been here to learn about St Hilda and the Bible. St Hilda was like a church medic in the 7th century or something. She cured people who had diseases and that. Wasn't like a church or a building infested with snakes and then they froze to stone and then they evaporated when she flung them into the ocean.
I think it's a really good thing for the area. We've come and experienced something different to do with support our history learning that we wouldn't have been able to just do easily at school. Having someone there who's leading the session as well, who is an expert basically and knows all about it, is obviously really good, because although we'll have some knowledge, we won't have as much as someone who studies it. And I just think it's anything that can make it open to more people has got to be a good thing.
I think that it's really good, and I love the windows with all of the pictures on and stuff. I just really love it.
(645 AD). The first abbess walked past the nesting kittiwakes, the terns dipping their wings in greeting. On this coast, where seals bob their heads, where larks announce the hour, where the wind is salt and ice, she feels she could grab God between her teeth. The way the shepherds sing their songs, a single pristine note. Someone is saying, "Mother, where do we go?" He looks to the white yarrow under her feet, the yards of ragwort, and spreads her arms. Here, with heaven as our roof.
Well, St Hilda is very important today as a role model, not just for the girls, but for young men as well, because of her charity and selflessness and all those virtues in her character that really are still even more important today in a generally more arguably increasingly selfish world. We can look to her example and try and emulate some of that.
I think St Hilda is just a really enigmatic character. I wish we knew more about her life and what her experiences would have been here on the headland.
I think she was probably the kind of woman that women today aspire to be, but in a time where it was hard to be that kind of woman.
I think from what we know about her, that's someone who must have been incredibly well organised to organise the type of institutions she led. Someone who was respected by her peers, by kings, by clergy. Someone who was a a leader. 5 men went on to be bishops from her double monastery. So that speaks to someone who knew what she was doing.
I think what she did at the time for like the community as well is just so important, and I think especially with how much divide there is and division in local communities that are today, I think it's important to have people like her, and I guess sometimes that gives people hope.
I think that her as a woman in everyday life, and potentially with all younger women underneath her who she was protecting and working for, I think she was probably quite a good person to be around.
I think the fact that we still talk about Hild and those around her, the anonymous ones around her and those whose namestones we still have today, is something that wherever we stand in our belief is something we can still draw hope for, because at a time when the world really was in an appalling state and people were seeing it as pretty hopeless, these places were beacons of hope. They were places that helped to turn the world round and to bring some good stuff out of the chaos and the meltdown and the confusion and the violence. That's her real legacy to us today. Whatever challenges we've got ahead of us, the challenges they faced were infinitely worse, but different. And I think it gives us courage to do that today, and it grounds us and does give us a sense that this place, this area, this community, this region has always been a place of transformation, of growth, regrowth, reconstruction, renewal, and that it doesn't necessarily throw its memory out and become amnesiac. It draws strength from it.
The church is now looking fantastic as we're nearly finished. The exciting thing is the public will be able to come in, and if they don't want to come into the body of the church, they can look through that glass door when the church is locked, and the public will come through again like they did in the 1920s.
It's lovely to see spaces like this being re-energised, and for churches to continue and refresh their role as being community hubs, not just places of Sunday worship, and to attract in new people who may not have thought to come through the doors before because they're attracted in by a different range of cultural activities.
I would love to see St Hilda's continuing on as a community hub in a variety of different ways. It really does serve the congregation very well already, and I think there's a huge scope for expanding that, not only to grow the congregation but also to have people come in and understand more about their local history and their local heritage. It's a fantastic place for learning. It's fantastic acoustics for things like concerts, having more people appreciate what an important building this is, not just in terms of its history but also in terms of its capacity for the present.
Well, this has really put us on the map. Thanks to the lottery funding, we now have a wider audience, the publicity that we've gained through it, and it's really opened up the church as not just a place of worship, but as a delightful heritage that goes back 1300 years.
I just like the design, and I've came here quite a few times and I've always liked it.
I like it because the windows like of the memories of Jesus, and it looks better than before.
The community, that's something we've got to work on, and we've got to move forward as well and explore new ideas to use this building. That's the important thing for the survival of our lovely building.
People should feel like they can walk through the door and come in because it is a community space. That's really, in my opinion, like what religion is and should be. It should be a space where people come together and look after and look out for one another.
I think we're staying true to St Hild because she is all about inclusion and about empowering people, and that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to empower the community to use that space, and now it's up to them to take that opportunity and to move it further. So I think we're trying to follow in her footsteps and make her proud of us.